Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie Sadie, for those of you joining me for the first time. We are going to have a look at what the Oracle cards have to tell us about the energies for the week ahead. Uh, so to everyone who's watching this on High Vibe, I'm sorry that I'm not live there as well. Anne is unavailable to help me today, so YouTube it is. Just a quick announcement about Gemini Rising. Anne and I have a very exciting week next week lined up for you guys. The Wednesday, the 13th at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, we have Jasmine Safi, who created the Rainbow Oracle. She's a fascinating woman in her own right. She channels, she's got some big announcements coming. She's joining us on Wednesday. And then on Friday, what a way to finish the week. Oh, this isn't next week. This is the following. What? I don't even know when we are. It is next week. Sorry, I'm having a moment. Then on Friday, the 15th, we have JK Ultra coming back on the program, 6 p.m. on the Friday, the perfect way to start the weekend. We're going to be diving into her book, Ken Not Included. Any conversation we have with JK Ultra is amazing. And for those of you who are on High Vibe, you would have hopefully already seen this. Anne is about to launch her school and she's super excited, as she should be. It looks amazing. I've been very lucky to have a sneak peek of some of the things she's going to teach and how it all looks, and it is amazing. So make sure you join that class. All right, we are going to get started with my favorite deck, Mahrukh, the Ascending Life Oracle. I love starting with this deck just because it's such a real deck in terms of it's not all these sort of ethereal thoughts and places we should go. It's very real life and day-to-day sort of stuff that we need to look at, and then we can move into the other realms. It is Mercury retrograde, and let me tell you, everything's fine, but it's been doing a number on me. The things that I've had to troubleshoot in the last couple of days is insane. Okay. All right. We've had a couple jump out. So the first card that jumped out was Key, opening doors to a better future, access to what was hidden, finding solutions, access to previous closed doors. So we're finally moving into places that we have either been trying to get into or doors that we didn't necessarily know existed, which is super exciting because for weeks we've been getting cards about how the other side, things that are happening in secret, things that are working behind the scenes. And this is the stuff that I was talking about. It's those doors that we didn't know existed starting to present themselves, which is incredibly exciting. Finding solutions. We have been stuck in Mercury retrograde, which I obviously just spoke about, and we will be in it for the next week. But on the tail end, by now we should have had sort of the issues that were going to come up from the past, things that weren't completed or solved or anything like that, those things finally coming to a point where we're able to resolve them. And this will help us when Mercury moves forward, and maybe it won't be finalized until Mercury starts moving direct, but those things will become a whole lot easier and you'll be able to start moving through it. And if there's a door that you've been knocking on and it just hasn't been opening, you may find that it starts to crack open for you, and again opens a whole new pathway or set of opportunities for you. So it's super exciting. Next card out is Crystal Ball, events taking place in the future, inner knowing, occult and esoteric knowledge, stepping into your spiritual power. I feel like every week we're talking about the gifts that we all have. And the reality is we are all born with the ability to connect. And so often when we're younger, it is the saying I want to use is it's beaten out of us. And I don't necessarily mean literally, although in some cases that's exactly what happens. But we are told to stop being silly when we talk about different things. As children, if there was just knowledge that we had and knowledge that we shared, we weren't able to express it because it freaked out the adults around us. They dismissed it. Maybe it made them uncomfortable. Maybe they are just so closed down that they're they weren't able to accept it. And I've been talking about the people that watch this show, I know are light workers, they're on a path. And I've been telling you to ground and to do the work that you know you need to do in order to develop those gifts, because you are going to be the way showers and leading people as they start their journey on this sort of path. And so you're going to help them with that. Sometimes the way you help people is just leading by example. So know that I feel like this stepping into your spiritual power is part of that. It's part of that leveling up. It's part of people coming to you, looking to you to show them the way. And this is why it's so important to live our lives authentically and true to who we are and the abilities that we have and the knowledge and the knowing that we all have within us. Um, and maybe you're going to get a bit of information about what is coming up in the future, looking into your crystal ball and seeing things. So it may be that information comes up that not only is opening these doors that either you weren't able to open or that you didn't know were there, but of what that's going to lead to, and getting that information, whether it be verbally and actually getting it in this world, or you have a knowing of where this sort of goes. And that's incredible. Next card out is leadership. It's funny, I pulled this card right before we started. High influence in business, stepping into a leadership role. You know your value and self-worth, using logic over emotion. This can go in a couple of different directions, but because I just talked about being a way shower and helping those that are just starting their spiritual journey, I feel like that is confirmation of what I just said. And again, this is why it's so important. It's so important to honor your gifts and to embrace them. And you're still living in this 3D world. You don't need to become this crazy person wearing your cheesecloth shirts and beads and only existing in that realm. But it's important to embrace it, to honor it, and to work hard to get yourself to that next level of ascension, essentially. The other thing is, in business, it could be a really good week in terms of promotion. If there's something that you've been hoping to be offered, or a new position opens up where you're able to step up as a leader in business. Maybe it's just getting a pay rise, asking for more money. And I know I have worked in a multitude of other jobs on the side when I was in Melbourne and I was modeling, and I always wanted to make sure the mortgage was paid. And I would go into jobs that I knew I wasn't going to love, but they would be fine and they would ensure that that mortgage was always paid. When I would go into those jobs, though, I would always go in and I would know what I needed to be paid to make that job worthwhile. And I would say, listen, I need this sort of flexibility because of the other work that I do. This is what I need in terms of remuneration. And I laid it all out. And I would find out afterwards, because people have big mouths and would sometimes talk about what wage I was earning. And there were people that were upset by what I was earning, and they would come to me. How dare you? Why are you being paid this? I don't even know what you earn, and what you earn has nothing to do with me. I negotiated this for myself when I came for this job. This is what I am worth. And if they weren't willing to pay it, I was happy to walk. So if you're not happy with what you're being paid, go in and renegotiate. And you have to be prepared, though, to walk away or for whatever the possible outcomes may be. And that was always my superpower. So just know that if you are being underpaid, maybe it's time to apply for other jobs. Maybe you get a better job elsewhere. Maybe you get the same job, but you're being paid more. And so just be very clear over your self-worth. That was a hard line for me because when I was modeling, I was making great money. The problem with working in the entertainment industry is you don't have guaranteed income. It's very cyclical. There are periods of time where you're super busy and you earn a lot of money. And then there are very quiet periods, especially around tax time and around Christmas. It depends on the budgets for the different companies. And so sometimes you could have a great year where it just keeps going. And then other times where you work those busy periods and everything else kind of goes quiet. And this was why I just liked having that security. Could I survive without it? Probably yes. But it was important to me that I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. So I understood my worth. I had my hard stops and that was it. And I think it's a very important thing in business to have that. The other thing is you have to be very logical in business. Right now, we often hear, I feel, I feel, I feel. Your feelings don't matter in business. They just don't. Unless you are legitimately being bullied in the workplace or harassed. And I say legitimately because these are words that have become overused and thrown around all the time. It's like so many words in the last 5 years have become weapons that people use and throw around. And so unfortunately, they lose their meaning. If that's happening, if there's sexual harassment or something like that, absolutely your feelings matter. But in terms of business, your feelings do not matter. Your boss telling you that you screwed up on a particular job or a project or whatever it is, that hurts your feelings. Okay, it hurts your feelings. You can process that, but it's not relevant to anybody else that you work with. It's not the manager needing to be reprimanded because your feelings are hurt. Your feelings don't matter. This is business. You're being paid to do a job. If you've screwed up, you need to be told so that the pattern doesn't repeat, and then you move forward from there. So just keep that in mind if the feelings are becoming a bit much. And divine timing, something you can't control, learn to let go, trust in divine timing, and be patient. I laugh because this is one of my lessons in life. I am the world's most impatient person. Aries manifester, I want everything, not even yesterday. I want it a year ago or at least a week ago. But there are moments where you absolutely have to release control. The other thing is when you release control of everything and really, really release everything to the universe and really surrender is the word that I'm looking for. When you truly surrender, that is when manifestation truly takes place because the universe recognizes that you're no longer emotionally attached to this. And okay. Uh, it recognizes that you're no longer emotionally attached to the outcome, and that's when things start to happen. The other thing is, as much as we want things happening on our timing, that's not the way the world works. There is often a reason for the timing of things and why they happen the way that they do. And often, if you're able to be honest after the fact, you can look back and you get clarity around it. And look, sometimes you don't. But this is one of the things that we just have to accept in this life. But trust the timing of things. The universe puts us exactly where we're meant to be when we're meant to be there. And Ida, who I talk about frequently, she was a very good friend of mine. She was my therapist for 5 years. That woman changed my life. She always would say to me, you're always in the right place at the right time for the right reason. And I think that's this week's motto for how things are meant to play out. Okay, I want to pull one more here. I've got a couple that have jumped out. Oh, okay. So, one of the cards that we've been seeing a lot in these last readings is isolation, being emotionally removed, choosing to be alone, recharging your mind and body, and introspection. I think the introspection is really important, especially in terms of stepping into your spiritual power. So, the crystal ball card, the inner knowing, when you're on your own and you're able to sit in silence and understand what is going on and truly reflect, that is where a lot of this spiritual development happens. It's same with stepping into your spiritual powers. And the other thing is the divine timing. When you are taking the time to truly look at where things are at, and be honest about it, that's when you're going to have a deeper understanding of divine timing. Also, removing yourself emotionally will allow the divine timing and everything like that to flow a little easier. The other thing is, with all of these retrogrades that are going on, we have Chiron about to go to retrograde later this month. It's a good time to be on your own to process everything that is taking place. With so many retrogrades, it means there's a lot of stuff coming up from the past. There's a lot of things that we need to kind of wrap up and finish, so when everything is direct again, we can really sort of step into that free of any of the baggage that we have hanging on to us. The wheel, fate, destiny, a turning point, things working in your favor, big changes are coming. So this comes back to the first two cards that were pulled, which is the key, opening doors for a better future, access to what was hidden, finding solutions, access to previous closed doors. And again, the crystal ball card, events taking place in the future, inner knowing. So you have these big shifts that are starting to take place. And this is a week where I think you're finally going to feel it. And yeah, the fate, destiny, divine timing, it all lines up. And then the final card from the Ascending Life Oracle is Crossroads. Faced with choices, midst of indecision, facing the possibilities in life, rite of initiation. This tells me that there are going to be people that are very resistant to the change that's coming. And that resistance could be choosing to turn away from the doors that are being opened, choosing to resist the shifts that are coming, or choosing to take the leap, to go forth into the unknown and trust what the universe is offering you. You can stay where you are. I mean, it's been fine to this point, but is it going to lead you to a greater destiny? Is it going to lead to you feeling more fulfilled and down a path that is going to take you to the highest point that is possible in this life? No, it's not. So this is why the isolation card keeps coming up, because you need to reflect and be honest about what it is you're feeling, what it is you desire, and where it is you want to move to. And are you prepared to do what is required? And I've been saying this every week for the last few weeks. When we're stepping into new things, often that's where we have to let go of other things that no longer serve us. And that can be very confronting, because these things become our safety blanket or our safety net. They will catch us. What you have to understand is, when you take this leap, the universe will always catch you. And sometimes when we're going for something and we have a vision of how it's going to look and where we're meant to land, it doesn't turn out that way. But what we have to realize is, your safety net might be gone, but the universe's hand will always catch you. And maybe that thing didn't work out so that the universe catching you can take you to exactly where you're meant to be. And this is why I say, whenever you take the leap the leap of faith and step into something, even if it doesn't work, you haven't messed up. You haven't made a mistake because one of many things happens. One, it means you're left with no questions. You have no questions about whether something would have worked, or you're not going to leave this world and say, did I do the right thing? Should I have kept going? How should this have played out? None of that is going to happen because you already have the answer. Sometimes you needed to shift off the path that you were already on because it wasn't serving you. It wasn't going to take you where you needed. Taking the leap and having this thing not work is protecting you from something else that isn't going to work. But with that knowledge and with a new perspective and new opportunities before you instead that wouldn't have presented otherwise, it takes you exactly where you're meant to go. It puts you in the path of people that are going to alter your life, whether it be in a career way, or in a career aspect, or if it's a romantic thing, friendships that will serve you forever. So know that however it plays out, it's a good thing because it's taking you to where you need to go. Okay, so we moved on to the Ancient Stones Oracle, a Rebecca Campbell deck. First card out is the Cycle Breaker. You'll get through it. Cycle ending. So this is absolutely about new beginnings that are meant to take place. And this is the whole thing with the crossroads. You can stay in the cycle that you have been in. The question is, are you happy in that cycle? I have talked at length on High Vibe and Gemini Rising about the work I did with Christopher, and it was all about breaking cycles, generational cycles, my own unhealthy cycles, and it has been the most freeing thing that I could have ever done for myself. Suddenly, I am free of all of that, and I'm moving in a new space in a new way that is unburdened. I keep hearing Kamala Harris, unburdened by what has been, but unburdened by what I used to carry. And that's an incredible thing. So we are in this moment where the universe is presenting opportunities for us to end our own cycles. And this is where it's up to you as to whether you want to accept that and step into it. And often when you're leaving behind the energies that you're used to, it can be very uncomfortable because suddenly you're existing in a different emotional and energetic space. And, you know, if we're in a toxic cycle with, let's say, our siblings, and there's this constant fighting and there's this constant battle, we get used to that energy. There's almost a comfort in understanding how that is going to play out. And when that's taken away, what do we do with ourselves? How do we interact with people if we're not having that energy attached to it? And the reality is you will find a better way to coexist and move through. And sometimes this is when people get snarky with us because we have removed our energy and we are refusing to participate in a relationship in the way that they were used to it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that that bothers them. They will adjust and they will alter. And when you're operating at or vibrating at a higher energetic frequency, you don't drop down to their frequency. They have to raise themselves up to you. So the more you're able to break these cycles that you are stuck in and create new ones and operate at that higher vibration, it's not only going to serve you, it's going to serve everybody around you. See the beauty. Gratitude, the sacred is everywhere. They always say to live in gratitude is the best way to live, because how you put your energy out to the world is the way that it comes back to you. And for many years, people have talked about gratitude journals and things like that. And it's absolutely true. I've told this story a couple of times that I was having a really good few weeks when I was modeling in Melbourne at one particular time, and I was saying to someone, I am so grateful. I'm so grateful to have my diary so full and have so many clients booked because it means even though every week I knew I was working consistently, to have myself so booked up took any pressure off, and I knew that at least for the next few months I was good. And I was so grateful for that peace of mind that it allowed me to move through the world in a much easier, calmer way. And then the jobs kept coming. While I'm having this conversation, I'm pulling into my car spot. And at this point, I lived in a building with, it was a converted warehouse. So it was almost like a whole bunch of townhomes all together. So we were part of the same building. There were adjoining walls, but nobody was above or below us. And we had this shared car park in front of the building. And I pulled up and I said, hang on, I think there's $100 in front of my car. And the person I was speaking to said, absolutely not. I get out of the car. There is $100 note on the ground. There is no other human out there. It was in my car spot. So there's no way to know if it possibly belonged to one of the other people. And I took a photo. I sent it to the person I was speaking to. I said, legitimately $100. And to me, that was the biggest confirmation that when you live in gratitude, the universe continues to provide for you. The other thing is, when I am having the worst day and all I want to do is sit on my couch and comfort eat, because salt and vinegar chips are the greatest thing ever. Who needs chocolate? Salt and vinegar chips all the way. When I want to sit on the couch and give myself that, before I allow that to happen, I get up and I go for a walk. And I go for a walk. I'll take my phone only so I have music playing. I do not look at the screen. I look at the world around me. And whenever I do it, 99.9% of the time that is happening, I'm looking at the trees. I'm looking at the birds. The other day I saw this massive lizard, and this was just on the west side in Los Angeles. And I did end up having to save the lizard, but we got him. He's fine. But you realize that we're a small speck in this huge, huge, huge universe. And you start paying attention to the beauty. It puts everything back into perspective. So you just have to remain in a place where you're able to see the good part of this world, even in those moments where things get a bit dark. And so you need to find what is going to trigger what a walk does for me. So maybe it's speaking to someone you love. Maybe it's going to, clearly I like physical activity. I'm thinking like a dance class, or, go roller skating, go down to the beach and just sit there and watch the waves. Do something that will make you see the beauty in what's happening. Maybe it's sitting there people watching and seeing people that are in love interacting and walking around together, holding hands, stealing a kiss, things like that. Just something that will make you see the beauty. And the final card from the Ancient Stones Oracle is the Temple, the wisdom within, quiet. I'm just going to say quiet external noise. So again, this goes back to the isolation card. So it's incredibly important that you take this time to get the rest of the world and the noise that comes with it out of your head, and to sit with your own thoughts, to sit with your own reflections, to get your messages that are coming in for you. The fact that we've gotten this twice, and first of all, if you look at this card, she's out in nature. So there is that connection, there is that grounding, there is that connection to source. If you look at this one, you can see the divine coming into this person. You can see her chakras are lit up. You can see the connection happening as she's sitting there and really, really going within to figure out whatever it is. And maybe it's just to quiet the world around her and to ground and be prepared to step out into the world, and about raising her own vibration. But it's clearly a very important thing to have this week. So make sure that you take the time to do that for yourself. Okay, so we're going to pull two cards from the Rainbow Oracle. I'm so excited to speak to Jasmine, and the fact that Jasmine is actually a fellow Aussie is super exciting. I'm going to pull one more before I even look at what has jumped out. Okay. Universal child. Within a child's eyes lies a universe where innocence is guided by love and trust and has no boundaries. This is why we need to have these moments of isolation. This is why we need to go within. This is why we need to nurture ourselves. We need to get back to this space where there aren't the boundaries that are placed on us as adults. And that starts, like I said at the beginning of this reading, that starts when we are children and we are told to stop saying silly things and to let go of, imaginary friends or whatever that we are seeing. And what I will say, I've often spoken about the difficult relationship with my mother. I used to do random things. I would teach people things like how to dive into a pool. And when I say teach them, I mean form. I was correcting their form, telling them how they had to enter the water, how they had to hit the water in a particular way, how their hands would break the water so they wouldn't hurt themselves. And I would teach them all of these things. And my mum comes out one day, she's like, okay. The girl that was staying over, she goes home and mum sits me down and said, what were you doing? And I said, I was teaching her how to dive. She didn't know how. So I taught her. The issue is, I didn't know how to dive. And my mum just went, okay, then, and left it alone. I remember giving one of my older cousins advice about her period. She had just started it. We were really young. And I remember saying to her, listen, your body's just adjusting and it's got to do this and this, and this is how it'll probably play out. And she comes back to me a month later and she said, you were right. Everything you said was correct. I'm like, great. I hadn't started my period. I was younger than her. And even things where I kept telling my mum that our dog needed to go to the vet. And mum's like, why? The dog was doing nothing out of the ordinary. The dog was talking to me. She was saying, I'm not well. I have to go to the doctors. And I was telling my mum and my mum dismissive of it. We got home from school one day. The dog has a major heart attack. Mum rushes the dog to the vet. The dog passes away. And my mum said to the vet, Natalie was telling me I needed to take the dog to the vet. And I don't even think I was 10 yet. And the vet said, oh, she could probably see that there was blue around the eyes because she probably wasn't getting enough blood flow because it was clearly an issue with her heart, all of this. Mum comes home and says to me, why were you saying that the dog needed to go to the vet? And I said to her, she told me. And my mum said, okay, credit to my mother where it's due. She never told me to stop. She never told me, don't say this or don't say this in front of other people. In that regard, she was ridiculously supportive. But this is where we need to get back to with ourselves because majority of people, and this is a conversation that Anne and I will be having with Christopher, who will be coming back on to Gemini Rising. We haven't finalized dates yet, but we're going to talk about the new generation of light workers that are coming through because if you look at all of our interviews on Gemini Rising or all of our episodes, every single light worker had parents that, for the most part, were not supportive of their gifts or their abilities and understanding of the universe or anything like that. We're all told to grow up, stop being silly, don't say this, people will judge you or whatever it is. And often, not always, there was a life of hardship which ultimately led them to the path that these people are on now, doing incredible work and being way showers on a huge scale. But this is why this isolation and going within and taking those moments to stop and reflect are so important for us to get back to that childlike state where we know there aren't boundaries, where we're able to tap into that knowledge that already exists in us, but that has been shut down, turned off, and ignored for the longest time. I will say, and this is not a judgment, alcohol, drugs, all of these things, all of that stops a lot of what's coming through for us as well. So there is no judgment. You can obviously do all those things and exist in this 3D world and still have abilities. What I'm saying is, when you really start taking care of yourself and you really decide to step in a very powerful way, those things fall away, because it makes that connection so much easier, so much bigger, and so much deeper. So it's just something to think about. And resonant truth, being in resonance with your soul, brings all things to light. So much of this reading, and even last week's reading, was about getting in touch with ourselves and understanding who we are and our abilities, and really leveling up. And so this week it's a continuation of that in a big way. And all of these cards that have shown chakras all have the third eye like fired up in a huge way. So there are things that you can see and that you know to be true. And it is time to embrace that and step into it. I feel like this is a super exciting week. There is so much newness coming in, and so many new opportunities and ways that we can completely reshape our future. I think in ways that we have been meant to for a long, long time. But now is the time for all of that to happen. It's ultimately going to be a choice, because living on this earth and living this life, we do have free will. We are able to make our choices, and ultimately the choices we make determine our spiritual growth and how much our soul evolves in this lifetime, and whether we have to come back and repeat things because we didn't get it right, or whether we actually really evolve and are able to sort of leap forward to the next journey, however that's meant to look for each of us. So this is a week to really tap into the knowledge that you carry within you, that you've always carried, and whether or not you want to level up with all of that as well. So you've got growth in both the physical and spiritual world. I think that these things come as a pair. You can ascend a certain amount in the very 3D world without the spiritual evolution, but the spiritual evolution is like a turbocharge where it just pushes you forward. So I hope that you do. I hope that you step into it and enjoy what's coming, because it's super, super exciting. And remember to know your worth and stand on that, because if you don't, nobody else will. I hope that this resonated for some of you, if not all of you. As I always say, not every reading is for every person. I did do a August monthly reading that is available on the main page of Weekly Oracle Wisdom's YouTube page. So go and check that out. I will put the link below. And like I said, next week, next Wednesday and Friday, we have Jasmine, Safi and JK Ultra joining us on Gemini Rising. Huge week, very exciting. And of course, go and check out Anne's new course that she's offering on High Vibe. It's going to be amazing. So super exciting things. Have a wonderful week, everyone. And thank you to all who